So let's kick this off, Matt, with you sharing a little bit about yourself and about what you do with Peppermint Creek Theater.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Matt Eldred. I am a member of the Peppermint Creek Theater. I've been involved with Peppermint Creek since like 2010, and this is now my third year on the board. So I've been involved in a number of shows. I've directed shows. I've had a number of different positions on the board, and I'm just it's been my pleasure that Chad has allowed me to be involved with this organization for as long as I have.
Absolutely. And it's a great organization. I have been attending plays since I moved to Michigan in 2011. So I'm very fortunate to have friends that want to go to the theater and specifically to Peppermint Creek. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, same. Chad, I think is kind of a common contact between us, and it was he who pulled me in and started getting me involved, and I've been here ever since. So.
great. A great place to be. So let's talk about these play dates because it's a great idea. And I'm super excited that the East Lansing Public Library has been able to be part of the play dates for the last couple of years. And we have a wonderful play date coming up on November 9th that people can attend and read the play beforehand and then come for discussion. The play is My Name is Rachel Corrie. So give us a little background on how the play dates came to fruition.
Yeah, so our Peppermint Creek mission deals both with producing theater, but also primarily with creating a conduit for dialogue and discussion and addressing issues that pertain to our community, and not just the Lansing community, but the greater Lansing community. And in the last couple of years, especially pushed by the pandemic, our discussion as a board has been, how do we find additional conduits for those discussions other than getting people into a theater to watch a production on stage. um, and the play dates were one of the ideas that came out of that. Is how could we take some of the theater repertoire that we love so much and get it into the hands of people who might like to read and discuss it, versus just coming to see it performed. Not always with the performance do we have an opportunity to have like a talk back or discuss what they saw or heard or read. And so it's just another way of engaging those people in another location and in a fashion that uh, maybe a bit more intimate, maybe a bit more involved than just consuming a theatrical performance.
Absolutely. And I love that they're interactive. I love that we're
Mhm.
sitting there kind of in a theater in the round, at least at the East Lansing Public Library in our large meeting room. We're sitting around and we're discussing the play, but then we're watching scenes from the play and we're hearing the actors and we're hearing from the set designers or, kind of what their thought process is for the characters or for how the play should look on
Mhm.
stage. So I just love all that we have that opportunity to be part of it. And I just so happen to have a copy of the play here in my hand. And I started reading it. I will finish it probably tonight. But let's talk about My Name is Rachel Corrie. I remember when this happened,
Mhm.
and it was tragic. It was horrific, tragic events, and yet the play has some humor.
Absolutely.
The play follows her, kind of her diary and just kind of her thought process through things. And the fact that she was 23 years old, standing in front of a tank that ended her life. I mean, she was a young person that had so much to give this world, and it ended tragically. So, talk a
Yeah,
little bit
I
about
think
the play.
absolutely. I love, her name is Rachel Corrie, and what uh, the great and late great Alan Rickman, who a lot of us are familiar with from his
Yes.
work in movies, but also was very involved in the theater community in London and New York, was the one who came up with the idea to take some of these diary entries and turn it into a a very short show. I mean, you'll realize it's only 38 pages of script, and it's there's diaries in there all dating all the way back to when she was 12 is where the play starts, right? With that really short passage from when she's 12 years old. But you can read even in there that there is a kid who's attuned in middle school to activism, right?
Right.
And each year on social media, and how I ended up getting coming in contact with Rachel Corrie and her story is that every year the anniversary of her death goes viral on social media every year because it's tragic. The situation in with Israel and Palestine never goes away, and so every year when it hits the news cycle, it blows up, right? And so as such, Rachel Corrie's death has come to define Rachel Corrie, right, completely, and especially in like this social media era, right? But what I think is really cool about reading Her Name is Rachel Corrie is that you start getting into, well, Palestine is where her story ended, but she also, just up to 23, had spent time in Africa. She had spent time in Russia. She is, all around the world being involved with these um, as a young activist. And there's a whole life of activism and passion in this play that we don't really get to interact with often because it's the story of a girl who stood in front of a bulldozer and died, and then maybe the controversy around the culpability of that action is all we hear about. And so the other cool thing about the play is that she isn't even in Palestine until maybe like the last 20 pages,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And you time with Rachel Cora and interact with her parents when she goes to these various locations, general thoughts about globalism, and then halfway through, she's in Palestine and she's only there for 2 months before she dies. And so it's, I think, appropriately treated as the tragic conclusion, but really only a small microcosm of the story of a brilliant person who, from the time she was a kid, she just knew she had to make a difference. And for me and for Alan Rickman, who keeps saying that the whole point of Rachel Corrie is Rachel Corrie, you know, it ends up being in Palestine, but the whole point is her. And that's what part of what I'm really looking forward to discussing with people is uh, Rachel Corrie and her activism and her passion, and contrasting that with each of us and what is in each of us to show the same commitment and passion as Rachel Corrie in our lives, or towards things that we're passionate about, or towards pertinent topics at hand. I think it's
Hmm.
great for discussion.
Yeah, and it's great for discussion, and it's great for these times. You mentioned how timely it is even today. The copyright for this play was 2005.
Hmm.
And, as you mentioned, we're still talking about Palestine. We're still talking about Israel. We're still talking about those conflicts, but and then some, and other conflicts throughout the world. So yeah, it's timely, um, and it brings to forefront what a single individual can actually do, and the
Exactly.
difference a single person can make.
Absolutely. Um, I think that's how we're trying to make sure to have it structured. Obviously, when we programmed Rachel Corrie for this season, we had the past, but and the fact that this is a socio-political topic that never goes away. Uh, we obviously wouldn't have known that how kind of it would align with what, like, the national moment of right now, and some of the discussions that we're having right now around anti-Semitism, and and our
Absolutely.
relationship with anti-Semitic language. And as such, I think we've really tried to focus the upcoming discussion, um, you know, around Rachel, around we're bringing in a collaborator, Ben Garrett, from Lansing Community College, who has been active in numerous global causes, but also as a a Jewish male who hails from a strongly pro-Israeli family. It's nice to have that perspective too, of someone with a foot in both camps. We have moderators with myself, or Chad is going to be involved. Veronica Gracia Wing is going to be involved. We have a number of wonderful people to help guide the discussion. But what we're really trying to do this year that might be slightly different than the past is really more like a book club. So to let it be a lot more centered around the dialogue that happens in the room, and keeping the room a safe space for dialogue and for discussion, and then to use those discussions to tie into Rachel Corrie.
Very good. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're bringing in other people, especially other sides, because this play, as do many of your plays, but this play in particular for this play date, begs for that. It begs for this really open, safe discussion on this incredibly hard topic that will not go away during our lifetime. So, but also the anti-Semitic rhetoric that is just blooming and rearing its ugly head even more so right now, needs to be addressed. And as a community, we need to come together and talk about it. So, and what that means. But yeah, I applaud Peppermint Creek and the board for choosing, plays that can be at times controversial or hard, hard for people to walk out of, and then, just have it over and kind of playing in their head for a few weeks. But I applaud you for bringing them to the forefront of the community. And I assume that's very intentional. As you mentioned, you have worked with, on the board to bring things to bring plays that people can talk about and that are relevant. But share a little bit about that thought process.
Our mission is to not just produce, theater, but we have in bold, or on the website, vital issues in society, raising awareness, encouraging dialogue while entertaining, right? But the core of what we do is addressing issues, raising awareness, and encouraging dialogue. And there's a number of different ways that you can do that. And so that is our hyper focus, is any show that we choose to perform, any reading that we choose to do, we've done in the last couple of years some online offerings, getting out throughout the community for some new into places that we've never been, and all of that is around those three things: vital issues where we can raise awareness and encourage dialogue. And if that is through getting a group together for a book club, perfect. If that's getting people into a theater, that's perfect. If it's doing a short musical at a museum instead of in a theater, great. How can we bring these vital dialogue to more people than we would just in the theater?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that bringing them to public libraries is perfect, because public libraries are kind of community hubs. We want these conversations. We want these, kitchen table conversations. We want the Sunday afternoon conversations. We want these hard conversations that bring the community together to talk about, feelings and solutions and all of this. And, public libraries have worked so hard to help everyone see themselves in our buildings and on our shelves. So kudos to all of you for thinking outside the theater to bringing the theater into other places. And one last thing, why not perform this? Why did you choose it, just as a play date? Why not the full-blown production?
That's such a great question, because we have that discussion ourselves a lot. Some of it comes down to the fact that when we planned our core season this year, we planned it in mind with this much going to be on stage. This much of the season is going to be in the community. This much of the season is going to be neither of those things. Maybe just tangibly via internet. And so with that model in mind, it goes, okay, well, that means we can maybe do 2 or 3 productions, and we can do, and so certain things get put into certain buckets. And I wish there was something more scientific than that, but it comes down to a logistics question of what's going to be on the stage, what's going to be in the community, and what's going to get pushed to the website or to YouTube or other interactive media. And this was one of the ones where it was we thought that the discussion and the way that we wanted to interact with it being a one-person monologue, was easily done in the library, and we could then dedicate some of our resources for the theatrical events to things that were a little bit larger.
Absolutely. Great. And again, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you on November 9th in the evening at the East Lansing Public Library to discuss and to see sections of My Name is Rachel Corrie, and people can come check out the play beforehand to read it and to discuss it. It'll be post-election, so people will need something to get out to. So come on over to the East Lansing Public Library on November 9th. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.